key experiences shaped you as an international speaker and executive coach?
I was actually watching capable people struggle under very poor leadership. Micromanaging.
In your experience, what type of challenges, what type of difficulties the leaders in these days are facing?
A lot of pressure to meet deadlines and to get things done as fast as possible.
How leadership challenges evolved in the post-pandemic and digital era?
I think everybody realizes that life has changed for all of us since 2020.
What role does values-based leadership play in overcoming complex organizational challenges?
Both me and my wife are global values-based leadership specialists, and we've been involved in the transformation of entire countries.
How does executive coaching help leaders to unlock their full potential?
Executive coaching, first of all, doesn't give leaders answers. It gives them better questions before the organization.
What mindset shifts are most critical to senior leaders to succeed in today's global environment?
As leaders, we need to go from knowing to learning. We need to constantly learn. Because we need to stay relevant, and we know that. In a world that is changing daily.
Hello, dear audience. This is Sher Afzal, the founder, the chairman of Global CEO Club. It's a platform for the business community to be facilitated for promotion of business all over the world. I started this journey around 7 years ago, and now the Global CEO Club is available in every country of the world through its partners, through ambassadors, and like that. Global CEO Club has multiple business segments like international business networking, international alliances, investments, marketplace, business, e-business journal, podcast, and many other. Today, we have invited one of the most prominent, most honorable, most passionate personality, Mr. Jan Robberts. And I'm very grateful to you, Mr. Jan. Thank you so much. You joined this session, and the ultimate objective of today's session is for leadership, strategy, and sustainable impact. So thank you so much once again, Mr. Jan. And now I request you to share with the audience of Global CEO Club your detailed introduction, your businesses. Let's start, sir.
Okay, salam, Mr. Afzal, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's a huge honor for me to be in the CEO Club. I've watched how people come together in your club, and I am honored to be part of this movement as it is. So thank you very much. I am Jan Robberts originally from the Netherlands, emigrated to Scotland in the late 70s, and for the last 11 years I have been in South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa. Together with my wife, Dr. Artie Moore Roberts, we have a leadership institute we started 12 years ago. And we also have another training company, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, which my wife has had for 27 years. So we do everything from leadership development, personal assessments, behavior analysis, executive coaching, professional speaking. We even are both authors. And yeah, we work a lot in diverse areas, anywhere where people need support, and especially at the leadership levels. We work a lot at C-suite level and above. And it is an amazing journey, and I'm so privileged to be walking that journey because I absolutely love what I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jan. As you are producing leaders, and Global CEO Club is supporting the leaders to be united at one place, at one platform, to grow across the globe. So thank you so much once again, and we continue our journey. Uh, how would you define your personal leadership philosophy in one sentence?
Oh, that's a good question, sir. For me, there is so much about leadership I could talk about, but when you say one sentence, I would say leadership is simply about who you are, and even more importantly, who you are willing to become to encourage, empower, and grow the people around you.
Awesome. What key experiences shaped you as an international speaker and executive coach?
Well, let me go back a little bit there because and it's a great question because my journey did not actually start of me wanting to become a leadership consultant. But it really actually started in the oil industry where I was 30 years. And I was actually watching capable people struggle under very poor leadership. Micromanaging, open door policies where nobody dared walk into those offices. Maybe people, your audience know that already. Uh, Longer than usual trips away from families, and so much more. So I was working with highly capable leaders, intelligent, driven, respectful on paper, but the business was doing well, yet people, and many of them colleagues of mine, were disengaged, frustrated, exhausted, and quietly leaving for a variety of reasons. And in one session, a leader said to me, Jan, I'm actually, as far as I know, I'm doing everything right. So why does this all feel so wrong? And that question stayed with me, and that leads into where we're going just now, because it captured what I actually see globally: leaders doing the right things, but totally disconnected from who they are, what they value, and how their leadership affects people they are supposed to lead. So that's really when I realized that leadership development isn't more about more tools, it's about a deeper alignment. And that's really what led me into values-based leadership, executive coaching, and much more of the global work I do today. So add that to the question that you just mentioned. Early on, actually, in my personal development journey, I started at 17. I got a vision to speak into people, to encourage, empower, and inspire people, as I learned that we all deserve the best life we can live, but most people don't realize that, nor do they know how to go about that. And different countries, different cultures, but the same leadership challenges showing up in different languages and accents. And that's what I said. And I mean, I know I've got an accent as well, but that's why I decided, I want to do something more than what I'm doing just now. And maybe some of your listeners already realize that little voice that most people try to ignore for many people until it's too late, and that's where the graveyard becomes the richest place, because that's where books were never written, inventions were never invented, songs were never sung, engineering feats were never developed. So we can't wait until tomorrow. So things happened that my tomorrow had to become today, because I said, if I don't do something different now, if I don't start speaking and coaching into this and supporting other people as my passion is, and I hope the listeners can already hear that in my voice, then when will I ever do this?
Excellent. Excellent job you are doing. So we proceed for the leadership challenges and solutions. Okay. In your experience, what type of challenges, what type of difficulties the leadership or the leaders in these days are facing?
Oh, that's again an amazing question, Mr. Afzal. And in my experiences, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, even more so, there, there's a there is actually a lot of pressure to meet deadlines and to get things done as fast as possible. And it's keeping leaders focused on the speed of delivery without any time for reflection. And that is a challenge, because we need that me time, that time to ground ourselves again. And it's not happening for a variety of reasons, but the leaders have bottom lines, they have goals and projects to finish, and the pressure gets on them. And that's why I read one time that more than 50% of CEOs in the UK or top level leaders were on antidepressants. And then we've got performance versus people, because that's another area where the focus is in the wrong area. The bottom line is where they focus, but of course it's important. But people are still the most important asset of any organization. And thirdly, and there's a list, but I want to connect on these three first. What was it? Authority. Yes, authority versus authenticity. See, leadership was never about the title or a position, but about the behavior. And too many leaders still see this as one of the first two, and they use those with authority. And I remember I'm also an executive director in the Maxwell leadership team, and with John Maxwell, I read a book that's called The 5 Levels of Leadership, and there the bottom level, the first level of leadership was what's commonly known as a boss. And every level above that, you can only take that with you and go to the next level when you start connecting with people, when you start building relationships. So that's a very insightful book about this. But when people look for their leaders to be aligned with who they really are, to see they want authenticity with all that is good, bad, and ugly, not the pretense, not the lofty person they cannot approach, but simple, real persons, more like a trusted advisor than a boss. I hope that makes a bit of sense, because most leadership challenges today are not skills problems. They're identity problems. They're not competence issues. I've got a word stuck in my face, but they are clarity and courage issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I pray for you. Keep it up to produce awesome leaders across the world. And it's my urge that grow everywhere. So we continue our journey. How leadership challenges evolved in the post-pandemic and digital era?
Oh, another great question. And of course, I think everybody realizes that life has changed for all of us since 2020. And it has not all been for the better either. I mean, a lot of companies have gone out of business for not for a fault of their own, but what also happened with people having to work from home, and there was no human connection. So there was a lot of what would I call it? Emotional fatigue. The stress levels have risen as pressure keeps mounting and mounting and mounting, and it caused a disconnection as well, because working from home, like Zoom meetings, lack of human connection, they all make more challenging where leaders feel more disconnected. And yes, it was challenging enough to connect with people in person, but now when people had to sit in front of a screen, like luckily we can do, but when people all of a sudden had to sit in front of a screen rather than go into the next office or connect with people next to them, all of a sudden people said beforehand, oh, it would be wonderful to work from home, until they had to work from home. And then the third thing that is also challenging is leaders leading systems instead of humans. See, leadership is very much focused on leading systems instead of humans, which is interconnecting with the two previous points about emotional fatigue and disconnection, because they are struggling to communicate effectively with their teams, and both sides feel this without necessarily understanding it or how to go about fixing this. So I think we actually upgraded our technology faster than we upgraded our leadership maturity.
Thank you. So we continue. What do you think? Many organizations are struggling to build sustainable leadership solutions.
Oh yeah, that's one of my questions. I have had so many discussions about this, and first of all, I read in LinkedIn maybe about 3 years ago that more than 70% of leaders are dissatisfied with the training provided for them and their teams. And there's two issues in that, because first of all, there is a total lack of understanding by leaders. They know they've got challenges, but they don't know what they are. And then they go and find a training, do a tick box exercise. Quite often they look for one of the cheapest trainings they can get, when in all reality they might as well throw the training in the bin, because it was never going to work. So they don't know the real challenges in the organization, then investing some kind of training that doesn't work. And then there is also no behavioral reinforcement. See, there is no sustainability about a half day, 1 day, 2 day training, regardless of no question how good the trainings might be, because we do a lot of it as well. But uh, and even how much the people leave to be inspired. But people go back to work afterwards and they fall back into the habits they had before that intervention. Now, I always tell people here it's a bit like we all know people who go on a diet and then they stop and they go on a diet again and they stop. And it's very similar to the mindset in that, because and I've got people like that in my family. I I, uh, I say to these people, I said, diets don't work. Yeah, it's a quick fix for a short period of time, and the same as courses. They're a quick fix for a short period of time. But using the diet as the example, people go to a diet, and then when they stop the diet, they put on the weight again. Why? Because they go back to what never worked before and how they got the weight in the first place. So it's more about a lifestyle change, and that's when we're talking about sustainability. Now, how can we sustain the changes that we've learned about? I mean, the same as they say, readers are leaders, and there is a good point in that. But again, with reading, you can read the best books, leadership books, and believe me, I've got plenty. But you can read the best leadership books. But what are you going to do when you shut the book? What are you going to do with what you learned? And if you don't take any action, and then the third point is that another issue is where the company culture is not aligned with the values. See, people might be told about the company values. They might even hang in a beautiful frame in the entrance to the beautiful offices. Yet, how many understand those values? Or worse, believe in them when the culture throughout the company tells a very different story than portrayed. And I'm throwing a few basic human values in there, like listening, transparency, conflict resolution, respect, boundaries. So you cannot build a sustainable leadership on inspirational moments alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, as I mentioned, that Global CEO Club has diversified business segments. Global CEO Club scope of work starts from B2B and ends on G2G, government to government transactions. Okay. So the scope of Global CEO Club is very unlimited to promote businesses across the world. So thank you so much once again. And we continue our session. What role does values based leadership play in overcoming complex organizational challenges?
Okay, now you're really talking into my area, because both me and my wife are global values-based leadership specialists, and we've been involved in the transformation of entire countries. And that's a story all for itself, which I also do in a keynote. But there is several keynotes on values that I talk into now. The first one is called the future-proof leader, rooted in values, ready for anything. And the second one is living what we believe, from values to legacy. And that second one actually came about because I am very close to publishing my book, The Values Handbook. Live with integrity, lead with purpose, and leave a meaningful legacy. So it's all incorporated in those values, and values. When I learned about values-based leadership, it changed my life. I can already say about the impact for any organization, as it did for me. Any individual, not even an organization, any individual who actively gets involved in values-based leadership, I can promise them 110% this will change your life. And if we look at values, they see values should always be like decision filters, not beautifully framed posters on the walls, because values are not aspirational; they are operational. Values only matter when they cost you something. See, because values don't guide leaders when it's easy; they guide leaders when it's expensive. When a company is under pressure, your values or lack of them will definitely reveal themselves. And that's when people really get to know their leaders and whether they can trust and respect them. So, really, values will provide a solid foundation when the building is shaking, when the walls are cracking, and when the roof is still leaking. When you have built that solid foundation for you personally as well as for your organization, then Tough times will come. Of course they will come. But you will stand steadfast. You're going to be authentic and you will continue to be respected for who you always are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As I told you, that investment is a large part of work of Global CEO Club. Uh, Global CEO Club arranges investments for the business community, for the governments all over the world. And there is no matter to arrange investments to boost expense, to boost businesses all over the world. So we continue, and our next uh, area is executive coaching and transformation.
Mhm.
How does executive coaching help leaders to unlock their full potential?
Again, thank you for another amazing question. For me, executive coaching, first of all, doesn't give leaders answers. It gives them better questions before the organizations pays for their own ones. And I hope that makes sense to your listeners because because I was spending a lot of time in the oil industry in hotel rooms, usually 10 months of the year, and people said, "Oh, that must be wonderful." No, 2 to 3 weeks is wonderful. 10 months, not so much anymore. And that is a story by itself. But what I did because of my desire and my hunger for personal development on a daily basis, I took half my suitcase used to be bookcases. I took books with me. I studied online when that became possible, and then in 2009 I came across somebody asked me, "Would you like to become a better listener and ask better questions?" And I thought, "Oh, well, I'm a personal development freak, so yes." So I checked it, and then I found out it was actually coaching. So I did 3 7 month coaching studies online. I attended many times every week, but once I started it, I realized I had been coaching for 25 years because that's how I taught people in the oil industry in the inspection side. I never gave them answers, and they said, "Oh, but you're the expert." No, I said, I want to know how you think. So when that comes to the first point, because executive coaching can become your thinking partnership. See, because it allows you to step out in a situation and look at it from a different perspective. Then it allows you to reframe and get someone else to ask you that question that others won't or can't. And your real coaching partner will have those discussions with you. Coaching really becomes your mirror because you will be able to see yourself very differently with all the shortcomings or the blind spots, as well as the way it allows you to really think. And then another important part of it, it gives you that strategic pause. And people say, a strategic pause, is there such a thing? Well, it will allow you to be able to breathe, to stop and to better understand what matters most to you as a person as well as a leader of an organization. To say it's slightly different from a first statement I made about coaching. Coaching gives leaders a place to think clearly before the organization feels the consequences of unclear thinking. See, coaching is a strategic advantage. It's not a remedial tool, and that needs to be very clear for people. But thank you.
Thank you so much once again that you are part of Global CEO Club for many, for many years, and we are connected for a long time. Thank you so much once again. And as I mentioned, that Global CEO Club has different segments. One of the most important segment, and as you are associated with many other organizations leaders, organizations owners, chief executives all over the world, and through you I want to convey to the business community the message that join hands with the Global CEO Club to promote your businesses, to have business deals all over the world. Marketplace is another business segment, and you can support me to have a business community on the marketplace of Global CEO Club to make business deals. Thank you so much once again, and we continue our session. What mindset shifts are most critical to senior leaders to succeed in today's global environment?
Oh yeah, I mean, all these questions are spot on and really relevant to today because when I talk about relevant, there is already three important ones that come to mind straight away. And the first one is, as leaders, we need to go from knowing to learning. We need to constantly learn. Because we need to stay relevant, and we know that. I mean, in a world that is changing daily with everything, all the new technologies and AI and it's scaremongering people and all that. But for leaders to succeed, they cannot just sit down and say, "Okay, I've arrived." And that's what happens when I mention the five levels. The first level is a boss, and unfortunately, more than 70% of people, when they arrive at that first level, they become a boss. They think they've arrived, and they do nothing else to develop themselves. And that is a sad thing, really, because this is clearly something that people in the last 5 years, especially, should really have realized that if you want to stay in the race, you need to stay relevant. In fact, I would go even further that you should even try to look ahead of the game, and if you can't be ahead of the game, but certainly not be behind. And the second one is we need to go also from control to trust. And this is so very important because Stephen Covey, the late Stephen Covey, wrote a book. It's called The Speed of Trust, because control talks into being a boss. Trust makes you more of a partner. That's the difference. And you need to become more of a trusted partner. And then, of course, the other one is we need to also go from success to significance. Now, that is what changed my life. John Maxwell, the number one leadership guru in the world, and we've got a Maxwell leadership team around the world that's now got more than 60,000 coaches, trainers, and speakers in it. But he said a long time ago, he says, once you have tasted significance, once you have really tasted significance, success will never be enough. And I will hold my hand up and says, I at that time, the first few times I heard it, I had no idea what the difference was. But once I found out that success is for yourself and significance is you do things for other people. So when leaders want to become great leaders and to be remembered for being a great leader, it's not what can people do for me or my company, but how can I add value to the people in the organization, our clients, our potential clients, and how can I add value to other people? And that really talks into significance. And then when a leader eventually walks away from an organization, it talks more about fulfillment rather than resentment, and not resentment only by him, but also resentment of many of the people who worked for him or with him, and then they celebrate behind his back as soon as he's gone. And I've got examples of that in the industry I worked in. But I think those three are very important points. The fact that we need to keep learning, we need to become more trustful every single day, and we need to go from success to significance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As you are producing, you are developing leaders. And as I mentioned, that Global CEO Club, a platform, a forum to unite the leaders at one place. And we are, you, me, are here to discuss about the leaders. And you are doing a great job and keep it up. So we continue. Can you share a real example where coaching created a major transformation for a leader or organization?
Okay, yes. Okay, one example. And I love this because I love working with people, but one example. Yeah, I've got one. There was actually only just probably 2 years ago, a leader, and he was very successful in the engineering space, but he was stuck. He also felt unable to attend important discussion groups, even though he was an expert and he was brilliant. He was often invited, but he just could not attend. And I found out, and he came to me, and I found out. In fact, I met him at a conference, and he did a presentation, and then I saw what one of his blind spots was. It was a limited ability to communicate what was needed to be communicated, how it needed to be communicated, especially at meetings and conferences and with major clients. And it is not that we need to be interesting, but when you present and when you communicate, it is very important that you know how to communicate. And I'm also a disc behavioral consultant as well as trainer, and I know from even from that perspective alone, many engineers they are reserved and task orientated, and then they gain promotion, so they work on their own a lot because that's the way they think. They're thinking about tasks, not people, and then all of a sudden they get promoted, and then uh, leading and managing people becomes a lot more important, and they have never needed to do that. So that makes them very nervous. So there has to be a kind of behavioral shift, if you like. And I worked with him on his communication and presentation skill, as well as his understanding of self and others. So because I think for leaders as well, if we want to lead other people, if we want to positively impact other people, we need to actually get to know ourselves first. So uh, after that, he started going to these meetings, even got interviewed often enough. And he used to send me these interviews because he was proud of what he had achieved. And it wasn't me. I'm only the tool. I mean, I said to him as well, you got where you are because you did the work. And finally he got headhunted last year by another major international organization, actually. But it often is a major challenge with people in the engineering, the science, the IoT, and other similar fields who get promoted to effectively lead people. And this was a perfect example. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next section is related with strategy, growth, and sustainability. What does sustainable leadership truly mean in practice?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, well, sustainable leadership is actually leadership that still works when pressure, change, and fatigue actually show up. See, it's fairly easy to lead when everything goes well, but only when character building challenges, I call them that, other people call them problems, but when character building challenges appear, and they will, that's for sure. But that's when character reveals itself. It doesn't only build itself, but it reveals itself. And that is when you will know how authentic a leader really is. And that is where respect and trust are not just built, but cemented. And that's when people really say, I'm following the right or the wrong kind of person. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As you know, every businessman, every politician is a leader, and they are leading a big, uh, I must say, a big volume of people, with
Hmm.
big volume of community, whether he is a businessman, whether he is a politician. Okay, and
Yeah,
they must uh, they must learn leadership skills. They must
absolutely.
understand what leadership is, and
Hmm.
how they can be successful. As you mentioned, that success is not leadership. Post success is a leadership, and how he can sustain his success in the world. So now we continue our journey, and thank you so much. As you know, our this podcast is also a segment, is also an idea that is purely available for the business leaders to discuss their views, to convey their views to the audience of Global CEO Club all over the world. So thank you once
Hmm.
again, and I'm very grateful to you. So we continue. How can leaders balance among three P's, like performance, profitability, and people?
Oh, wow, yes. And first of all, I mean, I am very grateful to be part of the CEO Club because I have witnessed the growth of it nearly daily, but certainly every week of more amazing, influential people and people of stature to come into this club. So you as a leader in this, you're attracting who you are. And I think that's very important. So that's why these people are coming and they want to belong, which is it's an amazing group to be part of. But just to go back to the three P's at the moment, uh, of course, all three of them are important, but I think the real question is very simple. Which is the most important? See, what you prioritize will show others what is most important. So if you put people first, don't focus on the other two to the detrimental effect of the people. You can't say, well, people matter the most to me. Leadership is about people, and of course, uh, when you look at it, leadership again, it's a John Maxwell quote. He said, "Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." And some people ask me, "How do I get influence over people?" I says, "Well, that's already the wrong question. How do you get influence with people? Well, you build relationships. How do you build relationships? You ask better questions. How do you ask better questions? You listen better." And asking better questions and listening better goes back to coaching again. But so people are because if you can't build relationships, you'll never become a great leader. So I think, of course, as you said already, all three of them are important in business, but you don't have to choose between people, performance, and profit, but you need to choose the order, and the order will determine the outcome. So just briefly, if you put profit before people, then you've got the wrong order because your profitability will suffer. If you put performance and push people and push people and push people, doesn't matter how much you try to do in an inspirational way. If you keep push people, it's like a tree. It bends so far that eventually it breaks. So again, it's the wrong order. But that is for leaders to realize that people will always be the core of their business. Otherwise, you're not a leader. And you mentioned yourself that in government and big organizations, a huge community of people, and you can't lead them all in the same way. That's why you've got more junior leaders, you've got managers, you've got supervisors, you've got other people you also need to connect with to ensure that they also practice what you practice, is that people are important. And when you make people the most important, the profit and the performance will come.
Thank you. We move forward with a question. What type of strategic mistakes do the leaders are making to have excellence in the organization?
Oh yeah, well, that's a good question, and a very unusual one, but I like it. I think one of the things about that is, and I've seen this a few times, that they scale the systems before their leadership capacity is ready. So scaling is always exciting, of course, but make sure you are ready to lead on a bigger stage. And another thing is promoting competence without character. See, lack of skill can be taught, but lack of character is fatal. Companies, it's said that actually companies hire for skill and fire for character. And then the third part of it is losing the culture and growth. I mean, I've heard an experience where growth of an organization adversely affected their organization because like individuals never forget where you came from, never forget what made the organization what it is today and what it's going to become. Because when people start leaving because this simply is not the company I signed up for. It has changed and not for the better. Turnover increases, absenteeism increases, internal conflict is on the rise, profitability is the only one that goes down. It takes a nosedive. And sometimes you hear about companies failing because they grew so fast. And that is often because they forgot what was important that made the company what it is in the first place. Big mistake, huge.
Thank you. So we continue. How the leaders can overcome, can control the uncertainty in the organization, in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually talked about it in the keynote called, as I mentioned earlier, the future-proof leader, rooted in values, ready for anything. And as a sub line in that, and now I have to think about it, it says equipping your leaders with the values foundations needed to thrive in uncertainty and lead with confidence. And then I talk into the fact that with so much disruption around us, as we know that, and even within us, what do you think makes a leader ready for the future? And that's also a question to the audience. what makes you ready for the future. And I go and talk into it because it's not more strategy, it's not more fancy tools. It is actually this: a deep, immovable alignment to what matters most. And for that to happen, we need to emphasize leadership adaptivity. See, in this day and age, where every person must become more adaptive to stay relevant, even to understand what is coming next. There are many companies who have not survived because they thought they had arrived. Kodak, Blockbuster, Panam. This list is long and getting longer. But I think more and more companies now begin to realize, even with AI, small and medium companies as well, and there's many of those people. AI will not take our jobs, not all of them. They will replace some and create new jobs. But uh, AI will not take our jobs or our companies, but those that embrace AI will. So we need to become adaptive and need to embrace that for the good, of course, not for any other reason. And also there is strong values. If I ask the audience what values they would expect in their people, and I'm pretty sure that they would come up with a fine list. And I've done that so often in workshop, and they always do. They are congratulating each other afterwards when they see the list, because I'll write them all down on a flip chart until I ask them how many values they practice every day. It actually becomes a lot quieter after that. And here is the simple yet very revealing leadership reality check. And I'm asking the audience, if I followed you around with a camera for a week, no interviews, no scripts, just real daily leadership action, no editing, no music, just your leadership action, like Netflix docu-series style, what values would I see? See, the question is, we simply cannot expect others to live values if we don't live with them ourselves, because that would be hypocritical, to say the least. And just as you will never have to tell people you are a leader, you are honest, a good listener, or respectful, because they will know. And then, another part of that is the psychological safety, because this is no longer a soft skill psychological safety or cultural nice to have. It is a strategic capability that directly affects adaptability, innovation, retention, and ethical decision making. And on top of that, there is more to it. But one other thing I would like to mention as part of this, the learning cultures. And it's not just your own learning culture, but that of the company. And those are not the same, of course. But allow your people to make mistakes. Allow yourself to make mistakes, but fail fast and fail forward. But keep learning all the same. Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned, Global CEO Club is available in every subcontinent of the world, like Africa, like America, like Middle East, like Asia, like Australia. Everywhere, Global CEO Club has footprints. As you know, this segment podcast is very important for the business leaders, for the government leaders, and we are discussing only your business to promote you to have recognition all over the world. Okay, so thank you so much once
Thank you.
again. Our next area is related with speaking influence and impact. As an international speaker, what makes leadership communication truly impactful?
Oh, that's powerful. And as I said, I love speaking into people, and I've also been actually, I'm also a Les Brown Platinum speaker. So Les Brown, the number one motivational speaker in the world, he's my friend and mentor as well. But uh, in all the experiences I've had, whether it was working in the oil industry or standing on different stages or in different boardrooms, uh, it starts to become truly impactful when it moves beyond information transfer and creates meaningful alignment and movement. And that has got to be happening across cultures, context, and also the different levels of the organization. See, for me, clarity is key. Leaders do not have to be eloquent, they never have to be. And people always think, when you go and speak, they are fearful because they might make mistakes and somebody might not be able to hear their accent. Whatever it is, when you've got something to say, the right time and the right moment will come, and the people who need to hear you will listen and they will hear it. But Well, they don't need to be eloquent, but you must have the right intent, and for that you must be clear on why this message matters now. What must be understood or decided? See, there got to be, you can't just go and speak just for the sake of speaking. There's got to be a purpose and intent behind it. Who needs to act differently afterwards? See, charisma amplifies clarity, but it can never replace it. And if people leave your office or your meeting inspired but unsure what to do, communication has failed. See, people don't follow clarity alone, they also follow conviction. Thank you.
Thank you. The main objective, the main goal of Global CEO Club is to advertise your business among the business community, among the governments all over the world. And for that purpose, as I mentioned, Global CEO Club has vast segments to support the business world, to support the governments. So thank you once again, and we continue. How how can leaders become more influential and inspiring communicators?
And that's a great question and the right one as well, because sometimes people say it is motivational communicators, and that doesn't work. They call it motivational speakers, but motivation comes from within. So I say I can't motivate others, um, but I can try to inspire them to that something sparks in their mind or in their heart that they want to motivate themselves to become more, to do something different, or to do something that they always said, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow," and they're finally going to do it today. So that's an important point there. But one of the things is presence. See, leaders must have a presence that signals credibility. That's very important if you want to be influential and inspiring. Authenticity, that can never be negotiated. You need to be yourself. See, because people will see fake sooner than you think, and that's when you lose trust, and what comes out of your mouth afterwards becomes totally irrelevant. And then we have listening as influence. See, leaders will gain much more knowledge and respect when they listen instead of talk. Because when we listen, when we talk, we let people know what we know. And when we listen, we gain more knowledge to be able to convey that to other people and also learn ourselves. And the late Stephen Covey had a quote: "Try to understand before being understood." There's another one say, try to be interested rather than interesting. See, so what all that really says is, we need to be able to listen more and intently. So create an emotional connection anchored in relevance as well, because when people listen to you, one of the things that will go through their mind is, why should I care? And if they don't care, or what, maybe even what's in it for me? Uh, so there's a few of these questions that if they can't answer them for themselves, they might still be in the room physically, but emotionally they've left the building. And so leadership communication is impactful when it changes how people see themselves, their role, what is possible, and then also gives them the courage to act upon that. Thank you.
Thank you. Global CEO Club has very big uh, personalities at as board member, like many kings of Africa, many ambassadors of the world are part of board of Global CEO Club. I invite through you, business community, governments, to join hands with Global CEO Club uh,
Mm.
to accelerate all over the world and to get benefits through big alliances, big collaborations, and these are all facilities are available through Global CEO Club. It's a private limited company registered in Pakistan, and headquarter is based in USA through my partner. And I'm very grateful to you once again. You are part of Global CEO Club, and we are having this session to discuss only your business, only your views. Well, thank you once again. So, our next session is related with global perspective. What differences do you observe in leadership styles across regions and cultures?
Oh, yeah, and of course they are there everywhere. So yes, that's a great question. And again, thank you for inviting me into the Global CEO Club and allowing me to talk into my passion about leadership and people here today. And your questions are amazing. I really appreciate you too. And I think that every listener, if they're not part of a Global CEO Club yet, they should connect with you and find out how they can become part of such an amazing global business. So thank you. Then let me then go. One of the things that is different, of course, across many cultures, and in the oil industry also, I used to travel across the world in different continents and different countries, and uh, the expression of people differs because the way people express themselves and explain might be different, which is sometimes misunderstood as well. But the message is always there. And some countries and cultures are much more community-based, like African, uh, Indian, Asian communities, much more so than especially now the Western countries. And others are more performance-based, like and factual. When you think about Germans, they're very, very linear. So the way they use their emotions, and that's another point, is the community-based ones are also much more emotional, and it also depends on your personality style, but more emotional than others, and that's why it's always important to do your homework. See, respect is also very different, especially in a hierarchy when you compare, for example, Japan to Western countries. The respect for the elderly is something that we had all over the world, but there is a certain amount of society where that kind of thing has fallen by the wayside, I say. I mean, I remember as a kid, if a policeman grabbed me by the ear in our town because I had done something that I maybe shouldn't have done, I would be more afraid that he would take me to my mother, and sometimes he gave me a kick up the backside and say, "Go home." Now you can't do that now because they would sue a policeman, and people of authority have no respect anymore, and people in the higher levels, but one thing is for sure that doesn't matter where across the world you go, values remain. Basic human values are universal. In fact, talking about Pakistan, we have worked with Transformation Pakistan, and there is one Pakistani lady. She's an amazing, amazing lady who we've worked with, and especially my wife for years now. And she also became a values-based leadership specialist, the only one in Pakistan. And she is doing amazing work there. I just wanted to mention that values are everywhere. And leadership looks different across cultures, but human dignity is universal. My wife, as a diversity, equity, inclusion specialist, has two quotes in a training room. And the first one is, at the level of respect, everyone is equal. And that is very important. It has nothing to do with age, culture, background, political affiliation, race, religion, nothing. At the level of respect, everyone is equal. The other one also is very important. She also said, you don't need to like every person you come into contact with. And that might be a relief for some of the listeners to hear. But there is an however. You don't need to like everybody you come into contact with. However, the way you show respect and are respectful to the person in front of you is a direct reflection on your character, not theirs. I recommend that you listen to that again. Thank you.
Thank you. We continue. What role does storytelling play in leadership and organizational transformation?
Okay, yeah. Well, that's a good question because I teach that in sales as well. Because stories tell in an organization, stories actually tell the history of an organization, which actually binds people together, where it started, where it is now, and where the organization is going. See, when you use stories to portray the vision, the future, people will buy into that so much quicker because it's a place of common ground. People, especially in the African communities, they are great storytellers and they do everything with stories. But stories is basically how strategy becomes human. See, it connects people. We have always known in sales, it says that facts tell, stories sell. Well, leadership is the same. And stories of success are good, but authentic stories, and I say authentic, don't make them up. authentic stories of failures create the real human connections. People really connect with it because we all fail at times, and there is no shame in that. We all do it, but it is what happens afterwards. And if we can tell that with a story, if you just come out with facts, oh, I failed here, I failed there, I failed that, people say, okay, sorry for you. But when you start telling the story of how you failed and what happened, and how you overcame that, that has so much more impact, and it builds trust as well. So I think stories from a leadership point of view is also something that we can connect with people, and that is it remains the most important part of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you once again. How should global leaders adapt when working with international teams?
There is a few points there. I mean, always, as I said, mentioned already, do your homework. Find out. I mean, I know from a story close to me, and what happened was they went to the east to China and Japan, and they traveled all day. The leaders of the company came to sit with them, and then but they were tired, and they excused themselves and went to bed. They lost the contract just because of that. They didn't understand that, okay, you might be tired, but if the leaders come, then you need to pay them the respect they deserve. The same as in Japan. If you get a business card handed, when you hand it to them, they take it with two hands and they bow. It's a respectful thing. So if you just grab a business card of a Japanese businessman and put it in your pocket and you think, oh, I'm going to look at it later, it is disrespectful. So it is really, that is only two examples, but it's about having the cultural intelligence. Find out what is happening, how people are working culturally in their businesses, as a human, in their communities. Learn that, because I traveled a lot in different countries, and the first thing I try to do is learn to say thank you and please in their languages. It's not much, but that's how I learned a little bit more of quite a few languages. But it showed that that you, and it's not about to impress you, but it's impress upon you that if you show and meet them, not even halfway, do a few things, make it, and I tell you, Polish. That was a language I was never interested in learning, but I've still got a sentence, and I've got different words that I can use, because that, and I never knew what it meant then, but it's a bit of cultural intelligence. And it's about the cultures as well, how they, there is certain cultures that you are, as a man, you're not allowed to shake women's hands. If you do that, you're in trouble. So know that, because you already lose before you even, as you get in the front door of a business. And there is so many of these. Cultural intelligence is key. The other thing is humility. Be humble, listen, even if you know better sometimes, listen. Also, admit it when you make a mistake, apologize. There is no shame in that. We can't know everything. Some of the things slip through the cracks. But I mean, and sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and that means is that sometimes when we learn, be humble enough to apologize and to admit it. Yes, we are human, we make mistakes, and that is fine. But also have clear expectations. What do you want to happen? But for that to happen, you need to follow the cultural intelligence, and you need to know how business is done in the other countries. They will also become more aware of you. But you remember, when you go to international teams, when you speak, even if you're in your own home, when you do it via Zoom, if they invite you, you're their guests. So act like a guest, and remember that always. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we continue. What leadership qualities are universally effective regardless of geography?
Oh, yeah, and there is quite a few actually. People might not realize it, but I'll just have a few. The first one is, for me, is integrity. There is no country in the world that, if you lack integrity, that you can still do honest business. And again, that's where values become your foundation. Values are the foundation of your life, your business, and your leadership development. If you don't build yourself on basic human values, you will build a house on quicksand, and eventually it'll crack and sink. The second one is empathy. You need to learn. And empathy is not the same as compassion. My wife is very compassionate, and she's writing The Compassionate Leader of Influence. But compassion is different. But empathy is to try and stand in somebody else's shoes. So try to understand before being understood actually talks a little bit into that. Then the third one is accountability. Don't blame other people. Don't shrug your responsibilities, whether good or bad or otherwise. In fact, as a leader, you should always take the responsibility, even if people in your organization make a mistake. If, as a leader, you start blaming the people in your organization, that says a lot more about your leadership than about the mistakes somebody else made. But I mean, again, sometimes we do make mistakes, but we need to be accountable for everything we do. And I added another one to it. um, Respect. Respect is also huge. I mean, I mentioned it already, but I sometimes have conversations with people in the value of respect, and then they say, "But I don't understand because they don't respect me." And then my question is, do you respect them? Yeah, yes, but they don't. No, no. Do you respect them? Because if you want other people to respect them, or you can't give what you haven't got, but you can't expect other people to do something that you're not willing to do. You need to meet them. Leadership is leading the way. It's not actually waiting for somebody else to come to you and say, I'll respect you. Oh, now I can do, now I'll respect you. No, respect people regardless. You don't need to always like them, but respect them for who they are. Everybody, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And then I say, so you don't respect them? No. I says, then you don't need to start there, but it's part, because the biggest part is, my next question is, do you actually respect yourself? And if you don't respect yourself, then that's where the biggest problem is. That's when you need coaching, you need help, you need support to make sure that you become you build your self-esteem, you build a respect for self, and then it becomes much easier to work with other people universally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next section is related with advice for CEOs, executives, and emerging
Mm.
leaders. What advice would you give to CEOs facing rapid change and disruption?
Well, I can tell a big story about it, and it's a great question. I can talk a lot into it, but I want to keep it simple. And the simple thing about it is, slow down your thinking before you speed up your decisions. See, because some of the best decisions were not made in haste; they were made in solitude, in silence, at a time where everything might have been in turmoil around them. You talk about the eye of the storm, and where there was calmness. So if you sometimes this decision made fast, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you actually are thinking, and thinking have limited thinking, and then you actually try to make a decision when you haven't got all the information yet, because you feel you need to be seen to make decisions, then you're on the wrong path quite often. So it is okay, slow down your thinking. Let me think about that for a minute, I'll get back to you. You might even, if it's on the phone, you might even have to put the phone down and call them back. You might have to take a few notes, but slow down your thinking before you speed up your decisions. If you can remember that, it'll stand you well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, that Global CEO Club has vast scope, and business community should join hands. Once again, I invite them through your platforms. Join hands to accelerate, to penetrate in the world. And we continue our journey. Global CEO Club has very big vision, very big mission. Global CEO Club, next phase is to establish a company in either in Dubai or Singapore, and
Mm.
afterwards it would be listed. First of all, Global CEO Club would be listed on Dubai Stock Exchange. Okay, and it would be a big milestone for the Global CEO Club.
Mm.
Okay, either in Dubai or in Singapore. Okay,
Mm.
so the next phase, Global CEO Club is going to sign MOUs with the international airlines, with the international hotels, uh, 5 star, 7 stars with the international banks uh, to support the business community. That, as you know, when you come in Pakistan, or I visit your country, South Africa, there is nobody in other countries to welcome you. Okay, there is
Ah,
nobody uh, versatile with you. Okay, so we Global CEO Club is providing the key role to the business community. Come and join hands to be familiar all over the world. Okay, and Global CEO Club would facilitate them in every country of the world. So thank you so much once again, and we continue. Thank you so much. Uh,
and thank
how,
you.
how can young leaders prepare themselves for executive roles?
The question about how young leaders can prepare themselves for executive roles. Okay. Well, again, I always say that when I talk about leadership, I say, people, we need to realize that leadership is all about self-leadership. And self-leadership is about daily, intentional, personal development. If you don't do that every day, and that doesn't mean the same as the gym, it doesn't mean that you have to sit in front of a laptop or read books every day from one end to the other. No, but do something every single day to improve yourself. And that could be a holistic approach, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, but do something every day because you never stand still. I learned that in martial arts a long time ago. You never stand still. You actually go up or you go down. And as my friend and mentor John Maxwell said, you better put your hiking boots up and start climbing because, as Les Brown also said, when life finds you at the end, and it's all going to happen to all of us, don't let it find you sliding down a slippery slope, but let it find you climbing the next mountain. So that talks about self leadership first, that you need to continuously and intentionally develop yourself. Now, intentionally, that doesn't mean having good intentions because we've all had them. Intentionally means that the difference between good intentions and live an intentional life is having good intentions means that you do something good occasionally, but leading an intentional life is doing something good continually. That's a difference. So that's my intentional. Another one is provide feedback early and I'm talking about honest feedback. And that's not, they say on criticism. We're not talking about that kind of stuff, but we need to ensure that don't let young leaders go on the wrong path for too long. Be honest and be supportive enough because you're a real leader when you sometimes it's a tough thing to do, but you might need to tell them something that they might not need to hear or want to hear. We all as leaders, and I think everybody in the CEO club has heard things that they didn't want to hear. But what do you do with the information that you receive? But feedback early is also very important. And then, of course, ensure that you've got clarity in your values. Ensure that you have a solid foundation because the higher up the ladder, the lonelier it gets, the more opportunity you get for your values to be tested. And the more stress you might have because it's so lonely, then the one thing that can really help you is your values and your personal development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before closing our today's session, I would like to have big opinion from you for the leaders and
Mhm.
how the business leaders, the government leaders may approach you.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. And of course, my name is Jan Roberts, JANROBBERTS. You will find me with Key Leadership Institute. That's KI Leadership Institute. So you go to www.kileadership.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You just look for Jan Roberts. You can find me on LinkedIn, on the other social medias. But I live most of my time with the professionals on LinkedIn. But for the rest, you can on our website you can find my contact details, my Jan at keyleadership.com. as my email. You can also connect with me via WhatsApp. And I certainly look forward to connecting with you, whether it's about an issue, whether I can support and guide you and help you, or how we can work together. And then you can find out, all the kind of things that we can do together. Thank you.
Thank you. How you want to be in alliance with Global CEO Club?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think that for everybody who's listening, it's going to be very important because, as Mr. Afzal already indicated, it is not just about CEOs. There is so many avenues there. There's funding, there's development, there is all kinds of areas. I mean, they're even going to talk to airlines and hotels as additional areas for people to be able to take advantage of. But that's not the reason why people want to take advantage of it. They need to take advantage of the CEO Club because it is you are going to be like the people closest to you, your inner circle. Now, what better inner circle if you've got CEOs and top levels of organizations around you? There was a guy called Charlie Tremendous Jones. He said there is three areas that governs the rest of your life: the things you hear, the things you read, and the people you associate with. Now, you can find all three in the CEO Club. And you might have to look at your life at the moment. What do you read? What do you listen to? And who do you associate with? And some of you might have to change all three. But it depends, where do you want to go in life? If you want to keep going where you're going, be where you are. But you're either going to live with the pain of regret or you're going to live with the pain of discipline. You can't live with them both. And that's a choice. And I have chosen daily, and I still do. So I look forward into the CEO Club to add more value, first of all, because I mean, I think it's about giving first and foremost. Don't go in there and say, what can I get out of it? That's a wrong stance. How can I add value? Because people of value people. And I think that's what I look to do. Mr. Afzal, I look to be able to find out how I can add more value, how we can work together globally. And all the other things, there is a lot to learn about the CEO Club, but how in any area I can add value. I'm also actually just become the global vice chairman of Loani, Leaders of All Nation. So the leadership role is a passion I've got. I mean, it's something I love, working with people. I love making a difference, and that's not about me, but how can I help other people to become better and to find their position in life and to find their leadership role in a way that actually gets them to the next level. So I look forward to all of this already, and I really am grateful for you, Mr. Afzal, for inviting me not only to the club but also to allow me to speak into the people, not only the club, but also I will of course put it on my LinkedIn and my social media as well afterwards, so people can listen in, and I hope they get something from it. And please connect with me, connect with the Global CEO Club and Mr. Afzal himself as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again, and I'm very grateful to you. You spared your precious time to have this wonderful session, and I'm very grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice time. Thank you.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.